أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم رب اشرح لي صدري ويسر لي أمري واحلل عقدة من لساني يفقهوا قولي. Inshallah ta'ala, today we are going to discuss the ayah number 3 of Surah Ma'idah. It is very descriptive, very narrative. Also, the ayah gives us a complete picture of what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has said in all of the ayah of the Quran. As we all know, the most of the ayahs in the Quran are very similar, or they have been emphasized and re-emphasized in many ayahs of the Quran. Just like it says in Surah Zamar, Allah nazzala ahsan al-hadith kitaban mutashabihan mathani. Many subjects have been highlighted, but many subjects are also similar. Similar in terms of the message. The message that has been given by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is given. Listen to this ayah of Surah Ma'idah, ayah number 3.
والمنخنقة والموقوذة والمتردية والنطيحة وما أكل السبع إلا ما ذكيتم وما ذبح على النصب وأن تستقسموا بالأزلام ذلكم فسق اليوم يئس الذين كفروا دينكم فلا تخشوهم واخشون اليوم أكملت لكم دينكم وأتممت عليكم نعمتي ورضيت لكم الإسلام دينا فمن اضطر في مخمصة غير متجانف لإثم فإن الله غفور
Now we have noticed that in this ayah, it begins with the message that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has given us about Hurrimat alaykum al-maytatu wad-damu wa lahmul khinziri wa ma uhilla li ghayri Allahi bihi. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is saying in this message that whenever you slaughter any animal, make sure it is in a perfect shape and the animal is not injured, and make sure that you do not slaughter the dead and rotting flesh of an animal that is haram. In Islam, minor details or major details about the life or how we are going to spend the life is very well defined. This is why it has been said in this ayah, الْيَوْمَ أَكْمَلْتُ لَكُمْ دِينَكُمْ وَأَتْمَمْتُ عَلَيْكُمْ نِعْمَتِي وَرَضِيتُ لَكُمُ الْإِسْلَامَ دِينًا. We see the perfection is in Deen. Perfection in the sense that every minor things or major things, every minor issues or major issues, any problematic situation that has occurred in our life, in our practical life, it has been very cleared in the Quran how you are going to live with your life. For example, the subject of divorce, very well cleared how you are going to divorce, how you are going to treat your wife, and what is the procedure of this talaq or divorce. That subject is also highlighted in Surah Nisa and very well explained, and the rest of the things that you may know would be given in ahadith, which is the interpretation of the Quran, which is also the saying of the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. In this ayah, you have seen that it has been said any animal that has been strangulated, or any animal which you think has been dead, you cannot slaughter and eat that animal. وَالْمُنْخَنِقَةُ وَالْمَوْقُوذَةُ وَالزُّرِّيَّةُ وَالنَّطِيحَةُ. These are 4 elements that have been defined in this ayah. And this subject is also highlighted in other ayahs of the Quran, just like said, Allah nazzala asal al-hadith kitaban mutashabihan mathani. Ayah number 115 of Surah Al-Nahl, إنما حرم عليكم الميتة والدم ولحم الخنزير وما أهل لغير الله به ومن اضطر غير باغ ولا عاد فإن الله غفور رحيم. غير باغ ولا عاد فإن الله غفور رحيم. Same thing, same subject, similar letters, but the message is the same, that you may not slaughter anything which is not permissible. You cannot eat swine or pigs. You can only eat halal meat if you call the name of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, just like we slaughter animal, Bismillah, and then Allahu Akbar. And this is what we say when we slaughter animal. We say only the name of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala as opposed to other deities or other people's name. Most of the time we visit the graves, we ask them for help, and we slaughter the animals in their names. That is absolutely no in Islam. Any bid'ah is not permitted. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says that today I have completed this religion for you, and from there you will be guided through Quran. Hazrat Ibn Abbas radiallahu ta'ala anhu has very clearly explained this in his interpretation of hadith, and it has been said that when bid'at has been created, then sunnah dies. When bid'at is created, then sunnah dies. So that is absolutely true, that any bid'at would lead you to shirk. There are so many sects that have been created by us. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has said that follow the Quran, wa'ati'ullaha wa'ati'ur Rasul, in many ayahs of the Quran, which is a clear message. And the message was also given by Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam in his last sermon, and he is saying, I am leaving two things, the Quran and my Sunnah. There weren't any sects. It is very clear that follow the Quran, do the preaching through the Quran, and follow the ahadith or the Sunnah of Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, the way he acted, the way he reacted. That is the Sunnah of Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Any message that he has been given, even in the last sermon, he has re-emphasized this subject of Tawheed, which is also very important. In this sense, the religion has been completed, and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has given us this message that we should stick to only one religion, and that is Islam. Now, if we see the perfection in our faith, that is also very important. The perfection of the faith has been defined in many instances. One example is Hazrat Khalid bin Walid radiallahu ta'ala anhu was sitting in the company of the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and there was a man who showed up, and he asked the questions which clearly signify the importance of Tawheed, and it does signify that we, the Muslims, have received the message of Tawheed, have received the message, quote unquote, completion of this deen. And no deen is better than Islam. Inna deena indallahi Islam. Islam is a perfect religion. Anyway, the man showed up and he asked questions which are very important, that our deen has been completed by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and it is a gift to us, to the Ummah of Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. The man who showed up, and he asked the following questions. He says, I want to become a great scholar. Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam has said, if you adopt taqwa, become muttaqi, you will become a great scholar. Taqwa, the definition of taqwa has been highlighted in many ayahs of the Quran. ليس البر أن تولوا وجوهكم قبل المشرق والمغرب ولكن البر من آمن بالله واليوم الآخر والملائكة والكتاب والنبيين وآتى المال على حبه ذوي القربى واليتامى والمساكين. Surah Al-Bir, ayah number 171 of Surah Al-Baqarah, which clearly indicates even though we believe in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, yes, we believe in the book, the Quran, we believe in the angels, we believe in the Akhirah. That is very true. Then another part that you will have to care about miskeen. You will have to care about your siblings. 2.5% zakat is important, it is a must. But the other money that is left with you in excess, that it does not belong to you, it belongs to your siblings, your neighbors, and to others. We can say that zakat is a must. Also khairat, which is like a charity, that is also a must. Nothing belongs to you. If you have the money, it is not your money. You have to distribute it money according to the law of the Sharia, according to the needs and desires of others. Your neighbor may be needing your help. Your siblings maybe need your help. Just when you say, well, we have paid zakat, yes, very good. Good enough, but not good enough. It is a necessary condition, but it is not a sufficient condition. The other money which is sitting in your pocket, it belongs to others as well. So this is how you become muttaqi. The question asks that I want to become a great philanthropist, mean the person who gives more charity than others. Said, yes, you can become a great philanthropist, but you have to watch your budget. For example, if you're making $100 a day, if you are saving at least 10% of it for your mosque, for your neighboring mosque, for your neighbors, for others, yes, you can become a great philanthropist, but you're spending all of it on you, then you are not going to become a great philanthropist. I want to become a just ruler. The question was asked by that person. Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam answered that love for your brothers what love for yourself. Easier said than done. Love for your brothers what you love for yourself. Look at the leaders of Islamic world. Do they really love? The answer is no. The present situation in Palestine, the children are being killed mercilessly. The neighbors, Egypt, Jordan, Saudi Arabia, they are sitting very quietly. UAE, they're not saying anything. They're not saying anything. Even though they are brothers, they can quote you so many ahadith, they can quote you verses from the Quran. They know this Quran very well. It is their language. But they have been very quiet. What is the reason? The world knows the reason. They do not believe the superpower is Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Anything is going to happen, it will be the will of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. But they are still scared. They do not have any iman in their hearts. Their mind are motivated towards West. They follow what they say. It is an irony of fate. Another question that was asked that I want to become the best person. Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, once you become a benefactor, you will become the best person. Benefactor means the person who benefits from you, either morally, financially, then you will become a benefactor. I want to become the most prominent person amongst all in the eyes of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. The answer was given by Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam that be persistent in remembrance of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is not going to ignore you. The more you love Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, the more you fall in love with Him. When we say be persistent in remembrance of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, what does it mean? That if you're sitting in the mosque or in the masjid, you're benefiting from lectures, But when you came out of the masjid, there's a very bizarre situation in the bazaar. You will have to protect your values. You will have to protect your religion, your faith. People will watch you. He's a Muslim. He just came out of the masjid. Does he lie? Does he cheat? Is he honest? All those things which we have in our religion, and if we adopt and be adept, then of course you have succeeded. I want to see perfection in my faith. That question was asked by that person who was sitting in the company while Hazrat Khalid bin radiallahu ta'ala anhu was sitting, and he showed up and he said, I want to become kind and generous, and I want to see perfection in my faith. Then the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam has answered, enhance or improve your manners. That's one thing. And feel Allah's presence while you are worshipping Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. I want to become the most obedient servant of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. The question asked, and the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam has answered, obey or perform your duties as dictated by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and you will become the most obedient person of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Then again he asked the question, on the day of Qiyamah, I want to be raised with the nur, or with the reflection of nur. The answer was given, do not punish yourself and do not punish others. On the day of Qiyamah, you will be raised with nur. What does it mean that do not punish yourself? When we do commit any sins, whether it is a minor sins or the major sins, we are actually punishing ourselves. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has not given us permission to go ahead and commit zina, to go ahead and get drunk. No, we are doing it on our will. We are the intelligent class. We have all the senses. Our heart is not going to motivate in other direction except the direction that has been given in the Quran, which is Sirati Mustaqim. Then it has been said that you will be raised with the reflection of the nur, and do not punish others means do not harm others, verbally and non-verbally. If you cannot be a benefactor, but at least be neutral. If you cannot help others, ask subhanahu wa ta'ala to help them. They may be your neighbors, or they may be your relatives or friends. So you cannot afford to do that. Have mercy upon me on the day of Qiyamah. The question was asked, and the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, seek mercy for yourself and grant mercy to others. Sometimes we take everything for granted. If you are being hurt by any means, we do not like to forgive a person, and we kept saying, this is how he hurt me. But on the day of Qiyamah, you will get your reward when you say, well, I will forgive you, because this is one of the qualities of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. He forgives us almost every day. When we ask for the tawbah, Ya ayyuhalladhina amanu tubu ilallahi tawbatan nasuha. When we present ourselves to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, this is what we have done in the past. But we have promised that we are not going to make this mistake or these sins again, then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will forgive us. Because our tawbah is coming from our heart, and with the intention that we will never ever do this again. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will be very pleased. He's waiting for you to come forward and do tawbah. He is omnipotent, He is omnipresent. He knows what we are doing, what is our intention. Even if you build a mosque, He knows your intention. If you're giving charity, He knows your intention, either good or bad. Another question that has been asked, that I want my sins to be minimized. The answer was given by Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, that recite istighfar. When you recite istighfar, get to the meaning. Oh Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, forgive us. You are very merciful. You are very generous. And when you say that, your heart says, that inshallah I will never ever do anything which may be harmful to me and to others. So this, I'm not going to repeat this again. On the day of Qiyamah, I would like to stay away from Allah's punishment or torment. The answer was given by Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Again, do not punish others, and Allah will save you from the harm. All these messages, when we contemplate, when we see it, it says that every single thing has been very clearly highlighted, defined, interpreted, and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala expects from us that we shall be guided through Quran. This is how our deen has been completed. Before I bring this chapter to the end, the situation that we see all over the world, the depression people are going through, is because of us. We can take Pakistan as an example. People complain a lot about it. Bribery is common, cheating is common. When Prophet ﷺ was leaving this world, he said, I'm not worrying about that people would go out and worship others. Inshallah, they will be worshipping Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. The thing that I'm worrying about my ummah, they would love money more than anything else. If you give them one valley of the gold, they won't be satisfied. They will ask for another valley of the gold, then another valley of the gold. And their greed is not going to be satisfied until their body is laid into the grave. And that dirt that has been thrown on their grave, that will satisfy their greed. Money is the source of evil. It's a disease if it has not been used. First thing first, that we should ask hidayah from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Then we can use the money the way it has been said in the Quran, the way it has been said by Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, that how you are going to spend your money, which does not belong to you. But there is a common misunderstanding that everything belongs to us. No, nothing belongs to us. Our body is on lease. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gave us this body for a very temporary, with a very limited time. Either we use it or we misuse it. If we are going to misuse our body, for example, drinking alcohol, getting into drugs, that is not the function of the body. The body has been given to you that you stay in good health and do tabligh, do preaching, follow the code of ethics of Islam. All these things end up saying, اليوم أكملت لكم دينكم وأتممت عليكم نعمتي ورضيت لكم الإسلام دينا. Perfection of deen. Everything has been given to you. All the guidelines are there. What you have to do is to follow them strictly. So may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala give us tawfiq and motivate our hearts and minds towards Sirati Mustaqim. Today is Friday, and normally I give a khutbah in masajid, but today this month has 5 Fridays, so I do normally 3 or 4 Fridays in a month. So I thought I must record something so the people would benefit, and I'm also going to benefit. So may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala bless the ummah of Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala shower our blessing on the people of Palestine and on the people of this ummah. Wa akhiru da'wana anil hamdulillahi rabbil alameen.